The million podcasts out there. We're grateful you chose toilets to titles. We give fantasy football advice to get your crack team to the finals. From Nate's cousin Eddie Persona and his unapologetic love for Chubb, and Justin's hatred for Chris Ballard, our show is as good as a belly rub. Mark is the best of the NFC West, putting down Penguin Pete with his love for the Rams. Grab a whiskey or a beer, we're glad you're here. Welcome to the family, but plan for gibberish and rambling. We have recent news and...
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and stop it there before everybody else logs out. But I'm trying something different with that one.
I almost signed off and quit the show after that one.
That was bad. That one was bad. But what do you think? What type of music was that?
Christian gospel? I don't know.
Elevator.
Elevator. Definitely heard better music on an elevator than that.
Yeah. All right. So glad I've got the intro music out of the way. This is episode 257, week 15 NFL preview. Not a lot of injuries, not a lot of big updates, but definitely what injuries we do have are going to affect your playoffs. Also, fantasy football playoffs. How did you fare in your leagues this year in terms of like the teams that you got still alive in the playoffs?
I mean, my home leagues, the leagues I care about the most and absolutely want to win, I did absolutely awful. I made 1 out of 4 of them the playoffs in those leagues. It was an utter embarrassment. But I think I mentioned before, I had a lot of similar players across the teams, and they just all were injured. A lot of injuries throughout the year.
Yeah, see, I'm just the opposite. I have 3 big leagues I care the most about: the 2 main home leagues, and then the Frank. And I'm I'm in the playoff. I'm actually the 1 seed in both of my main home leagues, and
Nice.
11 seed in Frank. But and then a lot of I'm probably about 50-50 in all the other leagues where I'm, in the playoffs or have a shot or whatever. But yeah, the main ones, at least I'm still looking good and feeling good in them. So that's nice. Already a couple of comments in here. Steve says, so who are you guys targeting in the Powers League?
Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to know? Speaking of first league and 1 seeds.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So Steve, I'll be honest with you because I always am. I'm targeting everybody. Plain and simple. Literally targeting them all. Because I'm gonna get some.
We will fact check that because on MFL you can check and make sure. I'm gonna make sure you have a bid on every single player in that pool.
Yeah, well, I mean all the big ones, obviously. Come on now. All right. Hey, what's up, Duarte? Good to see you in the chat, my man. Guess what, Duarte and Steve, you guys are both in the Frankenstein League. I know you're not in the main playoffs anymore, but I do have an update on that later on in the show as well. But thanks for tuning in, guys. But yeah, that you can find both of those guys that are in the chat. You can find both of us, and you can find our other man Nate in our Discord chat that we've got popping on the regular basis. So get a hold of us at JustinFF_, at Nate_Dirt19. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And then at MT Simon. Hit us up on X. You can find me at X or also on Blue Sky. And then at Toilets Titles also on Blue Sky or X as well. And we can get you in that free Discord chat. And then, of course, if you want to show us a little bit of love and help support the show at Patreon, or you can go to patreon.com/toilets-and-titles and drop in a donation there, and then we'll get you into the Patreon only channel within our Discord. So again, that's I think that's all the real what do you call it? Shameless plugs. Yeah, housekeeping. But yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. News and injuries. Mark. So after going out and spending almost all the fab I had left in nearly all of my league. I now have Isaac Guerrero with a foot sprain, who's day to day. Are the X meme post are those true, and I should go out and try to drop all my fab on Al Bundy, or should I not stress too much and Isaac Guerrero is going to be back? Because the downside is it's Thursday night football this week for them.
Yeah. The downside is they're also playing the Rams, and we're on fire right now, right?
Well, I mean, your defense isn't, so I mean, you're still looking for fantasy points.
I mean, outside of last week, our defense has been playing a lot better. But,
They have.
I mean, it is Josh Allen. It's hard to stop that guy.
True. That's why you and Steve should go spend all of your fab on Josh Allen in the Fantasy Powers League. You're gonna want that guy. Let's see. Isaac Guerrero, you got Aiden O'Connell with a left knee bone bruise. Guys, okay, he also could play Week 15. We're no longer doing our TGIF, our Friday injury update show. It was starting to not get as many views here towards the end of the season as usual when when fantasy players are out of the playoffs. They quit watching shows like that. So again, hit us up so that you can get in our Discord so we can give you these updates on a more regular basis. But Isaac Guerrero, Aiden O'Connell, both of those guys should play Week 15. Somebody that's not likely to play Week 15, Derek Carr, left hand fracture and a concussion. He's probably not going on IR either, though. That's what the team's saying anyway. Jonathan Brooks. Oh, man, Jonathan Brooks. Re-injured the exact same ACL, the same reconstructed ACL, season-ending re-tear. Feel bad for that guy, man. I don't even know what else to say about that. Let's see, Bucky Irving. Evidently, you don't either.
Well, I mean, I was going to talk about Derek Carr, but then you skipped right over that and didn't let me speak. So I thought you were just running them through all of them.
No. I was just chunking out a couple and then seeing if you wanted to double back.
So the thing I wanted to mention about Derek Carr is it's more the concussion than it is the hand injury because it's a non-throwing. Right. It's on his non-throwing hand. So I believe that's part of the reason why they kept him off the IR, just in case they do end up. I mean, that division's pretty close, so they're not theoretically out of the playoff hunt yet. So I think if they get a couple more wins, you might see him back in there. But I'm pretty sure the concussion will keep him out this week. As far as Jonathan Brooks, I mean, I guess we see why they gave Chuba a big contract extension, right?
Yeah. I mean, but everybody was kind of wondering why it took so long to get Jonathan Brooks involved. I mean, now it's kind of like we really wish they would have just taken the rest of the season. But I mean, obviously, you just never know with things like this. They had to have felt confident and comfortable before they let him out there. But
yeah,
it just sucks. I mean, like legitimately, his career could be being threatened right now before it ever even really gets started, and that's just sad.
Yeah.
Bucky Irving re-injured his back. He could potentially miss Week 15. That all that does is it helps give Rachaad White a little bit more of his carries back. Helps take away some of the diluted backfield there in Tampa Bay. George Pickens, grade 2 hamstring. He missed this past week. Could miss a couple more weeks, or at least up to a couple more weeks. And then Will Dissly could miss considerable time with an AC sprain and dislocated shoulder. Actually, I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more later on in the show as far as next man up sort of scenario there with Will Dissly. But anything you want to mention about those guys?
Yeah, I mean, George Pickens, like you really see how different that offense is when Russell has Pickens versus not having Pickens. I mean, they still had a great game and ended up pretty much blowing them out towards the end, but they really struggled finding their groove in that first half of that game.
Yep. Other news, it took a little bit longer than usual, but it seems as though maybe Nick Sirianni is finally starting to lose the locker room a little bit. That all of the players in that locker room are really starting to kind of talk some trash against each other and their play style. And I mean, they're doubling back on it and they're deleting old tweets. But I mean, the internet is forever, and the internet is undefeated, and it looks like the internet got the Eagles this week. I mean, I was a little bit more concerned about that in the past. I haven't mentioned it much this year because they've taken away a lot of the power from Nick Sirianni this season. They're putting the play calling on the coordinators. They've taken away some of the operations stuff from Sirianni. Like they're minimizing the damage that he can possibly do as much as possible, and it seems to be helping the team. Oh, and by the way, you have Saquon, which also helps. Uh, but I mean, they've been relatively calm in the locker room. I don't know. I wanted to see Barkley win a Super Bowl this year, but I can't stand Sirianni. I mean, is there any way we can get him fired before the Super Bowl?
No.
It's a shame.
But when it all does implode, maybe you see it happen. That's the good. I mean, that's the one good thing for the Eagles right now. Winning cures everything. Nobody gives a shit about the problems as long as you're winning. Once you start losing, you lose that playoff game, then could get a little scary.
Speaking of nobody gives a shit, there's Bill Belichick recent in the news again.
Yeah.
As it turns out, he might be resorting to coaching college, or even worse yet, Jerry Jones has been talking about him still having something left in the tank. Maybe he goes to the Cowboys.
So what I heard about the college thing is he met with North Carolina, which I believe his son is on that staff. So I think the rumors are if he were to take the job, that they would guarantee his son would become the next coach when he's done. So I think that's the route they're looking at going.
A little nepotism. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Then his son could have the job for a year or two, and they'd move on, and they fulfilled their obligation.
Yeah.
Let's see. Did you see what Tom Brady said about when they interviewed him on, I believe it was Fox Sports? They asked him if he could picture Bill Belichick coaching college players, and he was like, "No."
Yeah.
That was hilarious. All right. College football begins this week. Now, I'm not much of a college guy. Obviously, I don't pay attention. Don't really care a whole lot about the college game. Tried watching a couple of games this season again, like I always do. It's just, I mean, you guys tell me about all these big, huge, awesome games that are supposed to happen, and I go and it's like I'm watching football in slow motion. But anyhow, we do have two Indiana teams pit against each other, the Hoosiers and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So both of them making the playoffs. The Hoosiers is a nice little story. But you being more of a college fan, I wanted to ask your opinion. One, who's gonna bring this thing home, and for two, how far are these Indiana teams gonna make it? One and done.
Notre Dame's actually a very I don't know what to expect out of them. They are a very good team, but I don't know if I can trust them in the playoffs. Indiana's a great story this year. They've been awesome in the Big Ten this year. I probably think I'd lean Texas is probably going to win it. I like Georgia, but with their quarterback getting hurt in that game last week, not sure how serious that injury is. That's going to be a big blow for them. I will tell you this for you degens out there like me. Arizona State plus 6,000. Sprinkle a little on that. Scadaboo, that running back is a dog. Dude bounces off tackles left and right. And there is not a team playing better than Arizona right now, or Arizona State. They may not be as good as all the other teams, but there's nobody playing better than them right now.
What was that name?
Scadaboo.
Gesundheit. So is that a guy we're going to see playing on Sundays?
I think so.
I can think of some good fantasy football names to go with that one. All right. So from what I've heard, IU, Notre Dame, the winner of that game goes on to play Georgia. Is that correct? And now you're telling me that they've got a quarterback injury issue. So long shot, but do you think there is a shot that one of them break through Georgia?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely a shot, especially if that quarterback can't play. So
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. No.
Gotcha. So Steve has a pure hatred for Notre Dame. He's a Florida State fan, so he's got IU here over Notre Dame by 6. So that's interesting. I do know that he's an IU guy, so or at least somewhat of an IU guy. Obviously not for football. Nobody's an IU guy for football. That's never been a thing, not in our lifetime. But let's see. Game of the week. Last week's game of the week. It was a fun one, dude. I killed it last week. I did phenomenal. I did an awesome job. I only had 3 points I had to add to my total, and both of you still pulled away just a smidge, you bastards. So yeah. So
Well,
last
Nate
week
had 6. You beat Nate.
Nate had. Oh, I think I might have forgot to update. Are you sure that was the Chargers and Chiefs were 6?
That's what you have on the sheet. Maybe I didn't.
I think I messed that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. I'm looking for it.
Oh no, it was 2. Yeah.
That's what 2. I thought. Yeah, I thought, and I thought that the Rams and Bills were 2 also, wasn't it?
They probably were.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I added it correctly on the season total. I do remember that. That's the part I remember, and I got my Packers Lions one correct at 3. So it's good now. It's good. Because I've already updated the total. But all right, so yeah, so I went with the Packers and the Lions. Obviously, a good close game, a fun divisional game. Only a 3-point separation at the end of the game. So and that was on Thursday night. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna catch up on these guys just a smidge. I don't have a shot. I'm way out of it, but I at least wanted to try to make it respectable. And then, sure enough, here comes along Mark with the Bills at the Rams. You know what? That's your game. I'll let you talk about it.
Oh, that was such a great game. But I mean, I hate the fact that my point total was only 2. That was the most stressful game I've ever watched, where we put up 44 points. Normally, you don't say that. You put up 44 points and you're stressed. But I mean, all the way to the end. The last touchdown we score, we missed the extra point. The kicker basically tripped coming out of the gate and shanked it off the lineman almost. And then Buffalo just keeps driving right down the field, scoring on us. But I'll tell you what, the play of the game was 4th and 5 on I think we're on the 28-yard line. It was 4th and 5, and we were up 3. Normal McVay runs it right into the line, takes the field goal. We either miss it or make it, and then with a minute and a half left, the other team drives down and beats us. But no, he said, we're not letting Buffalo score a touchdown to beat us, and went for it 4th and 5. And with Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, who did we go to on 4th and 5? Tutu Atwell. Right down the middle. It was beautiful. I loved everything about that drive.
Isn't Tutu Atwell, isn't his jersey number 5?
Yeah.
And it was 4th and 5. I mean, they were trying to tell the Bills, and they just weren't listening.
Yeah.
All the signs were there. Yeah, so you only got 2 points on that one. Nate also only got 2 points charged against him. Get it? Charged. He went with the Chargers at the Chiefs. So Nate is up on the season at 109. You were in second place at 124. And I'm way back there. Week 15, our game of the week. The Lions did me right last week, so I'm going to stick to my guns there. The Bills did you right last week, so I'm stealing them. So I'm going with the Bills at the Lions. That's going to be a fun game. 4:25 Eastern kickoff, so the afternoon slate. And that's going to be a powerful game. It's going to be, potential Super Bowl teams and definitely some seeding jockeying going on here for whichever team loses here. There's the other teams within their division have an opportunity to gain and attack. So I'm going with the Bills and the Lions, and I see you're continuing a theme.
Yeah. I mean, the Bills didn't do me right last week. The Rams did me right last week. So I'm sticking with the Rams, and we're going with the 49ers. Rams versus 49ers on Thursday. I'll tell you what, you can call me a homer, whatever you want, but I'm telling you right now, everybody knows our defense isn't great, but there is not a team in the league that we can't go toe to toe with on the offensive side of the ball.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
We believe that, and I think if you asked most NFC teams, they would not want to see us in the playoffs. So
yeah, for sure. Especially since there's no such thing as defense in the NFL. Like
yeah.
the name of the game is whose offense is better. So, yeah, absolutely, I can agree with that. And you are a homer. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're also right. You give me a little bit of both. But yeah, I'm hoping the Rams with the 49ers not having a running back, that there's a chance that maybe there's a little bit of points dumped onto your total this week. Maybe I can catch up a little bit. Nate is going with the Steelers at the Eagles. So the Eagles, we talked about their locker room. We talked about the Steelers offense not looking so hot without Pickens out there. Maybe one of these teams fold. You know what? I might gain some points on both of you this week. Who knows?
I hope you do. I hope the Rams win by 20 and you gain all the points in the world.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Upset of the week. I'm going with your Rams. Believe it or not, they were getting 2.5 points on the
Insane,
49ers.
right? Come on.
Uh,
How are we
yeah,
underdog?
that's
All the
the
injuries the
total
49ers
respect.
have, we've beat them already. I mean, I get we're playing in their home field, but let's be honest, when we beat them in Los Angeles, that was their home field too. Like the Rams don't have home field advantage.
Yeah.
We're under the gun every game we play. So I
I
don't think
do want to caution you though, man. That field is still horrible there in San Francisco, and that's a huge. I still say that's a huge part of the reason why San Francisco religiously has a ton of injuries, um, because most of those injuries seem to always happen when they're at home too. Like I don't know what it is about that field and the turf, and now your guys are going to go in there and with a bad history of injuries themselves this year. So fingers crossed on that one. But yeah, I definitely think the Rams pull that one off. Nate, his game, his underdog or upset of the week. The Dolphins are getting 2.5 against the Texans. He's going to take them Dolphins. That one just makes sense. Like that seems easy to me as well. I get that Houston offense is good when they can click, but CJ Stroud hasn't been near the player he was last season. Um, or at least not in the touchdown department. And he's a little bit more on the turnover department. So kind of starting to come down to earth a little bit. So, but yeah, that Miami offense, man, 1-2 is in there. They look good. So I can definitely see this upset. And then you're going back to the well from last week.
Yeah, I honestly think this is one of the easiest picks of the week. I think Buffalo's going to be furious after losing that game last week, and they're going to come out and they're just going to go wild on Detroit. I really do.
Oh, wild. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Interesting. All right. Just so everybody knows, the thoughts of Mark is not necessarily the thoughts of everybody at the Toilets and Titles Podcast Network. Um, let's see, start 'em or sit 'em. This is where we play a little game where we take a quarterback or a tight end that's in the top 12, and we're saying that we're going to bench them for this week. And if they are outside the top 12, we're going to start them this week. We take a running back or wide receiver that's inside the top 24, and we're saying we're either going to bench them or maybe lower expectations, put them down in the flex, that sort of thing. Or a running back, wide receiver that's outside the top 24, and we're going to say, you know what, we're confident we can get RB or wide receiver 1 or 2 points out of them. We're throwing them in our starting lineup with confidence. So that's the little game we're playing here. So start him or sit him. I'm going to start Aaron Rodgers, quarterback 17. He's going up against the Jaguars. The Jaguars are the worst in the league against quarterbacks. This is strictly a matchup play, but I do love the matchup. And then you mix in the fact that Brees Hall's a little bit injured right now. We could see back-to-back 300-yard games from Aaron Rodgers. We hadn't seen a 300-yard game in a very, very long time from Aaron Rodgers. We got one this past week when Brees Hall was out. We don't know if Brees is coming back this week. It's week 1 of my home league playoffs, so there's a good chance he's not coming back to help me out this week. just based off of dumb luck, and not actually anything that I've seen reported. But so if Brees is out, this could be another 300-yard game for Rodgers against that Jaguars defense. If Brees is there, we still have to be careful with Brees's usage. I still see a big game for Rodgers. My quarterback that I'm sitting is Jared Goff. He's a QB8 right now. Sitting him against the Bills, who are fifth against quarterbacks. The Bills are one of the best teams in the league against quarterbacks and one of the worst against running backs. Even when they had their stretch of all the injuries, there was really bad injuries there in the secondary for much of the season. They still, and also mix in that they have a bunch of positive game scripts, being the Bills, and that they play with the lead a lot. They still did not see a ton more passing attempts against them than they did rushes, like you would think that the game would imply that would happen with those situations. So it simply doesn't translate that much for them because they're so bad on the ground against running backs that teams are still going to continue to run. This should be a real heavy Gibbs and Montgomery game for Detroit. I see a lot fewer attempts needed by Goff to continue to run that offense. Not necessarily saying they're not going to be behind, just saying that the most effective way to run an offense against that Bills defense is on the ground. And then my starting running back, Rico Dowdle, he is currently the RB26, but against the worst team in the league against running backs. Over the last 3 weeks, he has had more than 300 all-purpose yards, and he's topped over 100 rushing yards in the last 2 weeks. I believe it was over 80 yards the prior week before that. The Cowboys know that they can't move the ball right now with Cooper Rush unless they establish the run. They're going to have to continue to do that with Rico against that bad run defense. The running back that I'm sitting, Najee Harris, he's the RB20 overall right now in the season. He's going up against the Eagles, who are fifth against running backs. Warren is still taking too many of the carries from Harris, in my opinion, and it's also not a great matchup. Tempering expectations. At best, I'm going to flex Harris, but you know me, I'm an RB heavy guy. There's a good chance I have a lot better options out there other than Harris. Devontae Adams is the wide receiver 31. He faces the third worst team against wide receivers, and he has been the wide receiver 10 overall since week 9. That's the second week since he joined the Jets. He's been the wide receiver 10 overall since that time. And also choosing him for our one and done game later on, by the way. Sitting, this one might be a little bit of a surprise, but I'm not going to chase the points. I'm going to sit Jordan Addison, wide receiver 20. Now, when I say sit in this situation, there's a pretty good chance that you're probably not going to find a better flex than him, even if you don't like the situation or the matchup. He's bound to have some balls just fall into his lap. Oh, wait a minute. Got to watch how I word things. Jordan Addison, wide receiver 20 overall. He's facing the toughest defense against wide receivers this week against the Bears. But Addison has been the model of inconsistency, and that's the main reason why I'm trying to avoid him. The fact that he dropped 30 against the Bears just a few weeks ago still doesn't make me want to make him more than just a flex. I'm just not ready to rely on him as that wide receiver 2 or better with the type of inconsistency he has. So the guy will have a 20-point game and then he'll have a 3-point game. He'll have a 35-point game and come back with a 22-point game and then a 7-point game. Like, you just never know what you're going to get from him. And it doesn't matter what that matchup is. Sometimes he plays well against good defenses. Sometimes he plays bad against them. Sometimes he plays well against bad defenses. Sometimes he plays bad against them. Like, it's just, you never know how they're going to utilize him. I will say this much. It's not Jordan Addison's fault because every time the ball goes his direction, he catches it, especially in the end zone. My starting tight end, TJ Hawkinson, because why not? It's TJ Hawkinson, and he's still only the tight end 37. So I was running out of time, and I wanted to cheat. But he's a top 10 tight end that I can still use in this game, and he's going against the Bears this week. So why not? Zach Ertz is my tight end that I'm sitting. He's the tight end 10. Going up against the Saints this week in a matchup that, in my opinion, is bound to see a whole lot of rushing attempts from Washington. I don't see the need for them to have to throw the ball a heck of a lot against the Saints. Banged up Saints with presumably without Derek Carr, and definitely that whole offense looks stagnant without Taysom Hill. So they should have a lead early and often and not need to throw the ball all that much. So that's why I'm sitting Zach Ertz this week. What say you, Mark?
All right. So for the quarterback I'm starting this week, I'm starting Jordan Love. He's quarterback 15. I've said it quite a few times. I think Seattle's got a pretty shaky secondary. I think this game is going to be a little on the higher scoring side. So I think both teams are going to need to throw quite a bit. And that's why I think he'll be a great start this week. I didn't look at yours. I also had Jared Goff as my sit at quarterback 8, pretty much for the same reasons you already mentioned. I mentioned I feel like Buffalo is going to be pissed off, ready to go in this game. I think Detroit's going to want to run the ball to keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. And I mean, honestly, like you mentioned, Buffalo's run defense is not that great. So I think Jared Goff isn't going to need to throw that much in this game. And I think he does get an interception or two. The running backs, I am starting Brian Robinson, running back 29 versus the Saints. This is a pretty good matchup for him. But to be honest, like I didn't see a lot of choices outside the top 24 at running back that I really wanted to start. I thought he was the best one. Sitting running back number 19, DeAndre Swift. Yeah. I'm benching every bear I can. I don't want any part of that offense. I don't even want to watch their games. Like I want nothing to do with it. So yeah, bench him. Unfortunately, in our staff league, I think he's one of the only running backs I have that I need to start in the playoffs, though. Wide receiver, I am starting wide receiver number 27, who is Puka Nacua. How is that possible? Yes, please. Sign me up.
Injuries. Just the injuries.
Yeah, I know.
He will no longer be outside of the top 24 after this week.
I know. I was being sarcastic. Yeah, but yeah, definitely a little cheap there for me. I'm sitting wide receiver number 15, Zay Flowers versus the Giants. I feel like the Ravens are going to get out to a big lead early, and they're just going to be able to run it down their throat for the rest of the game. I don't see the need to throw the ball hardly at all. So not that it's a bad matchup for Zay Flowers. I just don't think he's going to get a lot of work in it. Tight ends, I'm starting Jawan Johnson, tight end 24. He's up against Washington this week. Not a bad matchup. And especially if Carr's not playing this week, Hainer or Radler, whoever they decide to go to, most likely Hainer, will need to lean on their tight end quite a bit. Benching, really, there weren't many great options to bench at tight end. So I'm benching Mark Andrews, tight end number 7, pretty much the same reason as I said for, say, Flowers. I just don't see him needing to throw the ball that much.
Fair enough. And I want to go over some Frank updates, but before I do that, we got some questions here in the chat. We've got Chad Roan. He says he's thinking about dropping Will Levis, so good on you. Congratulations. Definitely do that. He says for Taylor, I'm guessing that is the running back for the San Francisco 49ers, Patrick Taylor, just in case Gurindo doesn't go, because he later says that he sees Richardson is back on the wire and he has Goff. Should I pick up Richardson as well or Taylor? I have Gurindo. This is a standard league. Okay. So first off, I'm not going to start Richardson over Goff. Even though I just said that he's my sit of the week because of the game situation, I still think he's going to be more than serviceable and he's going to be fine. I can't trust Richardson, especially against that Broncos defense this week. So I think I'm definitely still going to start Goff over him. So if I'm not going to start Richardson, then I'm not going to drop Will Levis for Richardson when I could get Taylor. Gurindo plays Thursday night. If they can't play, there's a good chance that Taylor picks up the slack. And if Gurindo is definitely out before Thursday, you're going to want to have Taylor in your lineup because that offense is very much next man up. And whoever that running back is going to get fantasy points. They're going to get at least enough to be worthy of a starting spot. So, so that's my opinion on this. What do you think, Bart?
I agree. I did you say you would pick up Richardson? You just wouldn't start him?
No, I'm saying I would drop Will Levis for Taylor.
So, yeah. But I see
Because
in the second part of this question, he says, should I pick up Richardson as well or Taylor? So if you have the option to also pick up Richardson, I want to do that because I would want to have, I'm with you. I don't want to start Richardson over Goff this week with the matchup against Denver and Goff playing Buffalo. I would rather go Goff in that situation, but I would like to have Richardson's running ability in some matchups I don't like starting Goff.
Okay, so after Denver, he does have Tennessee and the Giants, so maybe the Titans defense is actually pretty solid, and on top of that, they always have the Colts number. I'm just not gonna. You know me, I'm a cynic when it comes to the Colts and especially Anthony Richardson. I get the rushing upside, but I also look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games this season out of 9 where he scored 13 points or less in fantasy. So, I get the 2 of the last 3 games have been good, but that was also against the Jets and the Patriots. So I just can't take very much stock in Richardson. If you have Goff, the only way you're starting Richardson, in my opinion, if you have Goff, is if Goff gets hurt. That's just I can't.
Me personally, if I'm in the semifinals in Week 16 and I have Richardson versus the Giants or Goff outdoors in Chicago, I'm starting Richardson over the Giants.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
100%.
All right. Well, I go for it. It also depends on who you're dropping for that second spot too. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
If you're dropping another guy that's equal to Will Levis, then sure. But but yeah, and then I also really like the next well, maybe not the next comment, but the next comment after this one. But Steve says I'd take Richardson then for San Fran's running back. Look for the guy from Israel Abanaconda. Absolutely, they did just pick him up, and but again, they're next man up. It's going to be Taylor until Abanaconda can get used to this offense. But in my opinion, Taylor and Abanaconda are very much identical. They're very similar. Abanaconda has had more opportunities in the league in the past, especially in preseason games where he's highlighted and featured. But I think it's going to take a little time, but honestly, it's the 49ers. He might just be 2 games away from being the starter. So there's that. But yeah, nothing wrong with handcuffing the handcuffs of the handcuffs in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Daniel Maldonado says, "Hello, guys from Mexico. Hey, what's up, Maldonado? Who should I start? Warren, Braylon Allen. That says Patrick or Bigsby. I'm guessing maybe that's Patrick, wide receiver for the Lions. He's probably trying to chase those points, maybe.
Yeah. I think it comes down to me for if Brees is healthy or not. If Brees is out again, then it's definitely Allen for me. Honestly, I might lean Allen regardless. What do you think?
I don't know, man. What's going on with ETN? Why are there so many single digit games with ETN? I think Bigsby is probably my fallback if Brees Hall plays, because Bigsby has been a little bit more consistent. He's more steadily and heavily involved in the game plan. He hasn't been able to do a heck of a lot with it, most of the season. So low expectations, but yeah, I think for me that's how I'm going. I'm going with Braylon Allen if Brees is out, and Bigsby if Brees is in. And that's also because that other dude, for the Jets, man, that this weekend. Oh, what's that other running back that
Davis.
stepped up this week?
Isaiah
Yeah,
Davis.
Davis is he I th- man, he looked really good, and he's got a fire, dude. He just jumps up and he's ready to play. He brings a spark to that offense. So, yeah, so 10 rushes for 40 yards and a touchdown, 3 catches for 27 yards. That he had a touchdown the previous week against the Seahawks on 3 catches for 28 yards. So the guy is getting more and more active. So I think because of all of that, I'm probably fading Braylon Allen a little bit more. But let's see. Steve says Bigsby as well. Oh, that was me. Let's see. Maldonado. I will say this also, Daniel, is our start sit guys work on Sunday mornings from about 10 a.m. until noon, or is 10:30? Is it 10 or 10:30? I forget.
10:00, I think they start.
Yeah.
I'm always
So
there about 10:30.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. About 10 o'clock at 10 to noon. And that's Eastern Standard Time. That is, we do a start sit show where we'll help you with all of these types of questions as well, and you have a whole panel of guys that can help you. But he says, who should he start? Mooney, Keenan, JMO, or Mayers? I'm thinking that's Jacoby Myers. I think is what he meant to put. So Myers. He just won. This is a pretty good question here. I think, man, Mooney or Myers to me. I have to look at the matchups here. See, this is part of why you asked Sunday morning too, because we'll have the matchups up and ready to go. But see, Mooney is playing the Raiders. That's a great match. Myers.
Each
So
other,
that means
yeah.
Myers has an awesome matchup too. Then, so yeah, I'm gonna go with Jacoby Myers on this one. Myers has been tearing it up lately. 13.7 PPR last week. His last 3 games, 22, 15, 13. Yeah, yeah. Give me Myers. He's become the wide receiver there that everybody thought that Devontae Adams was going to be this year for the Raiders. So, and I think I said that Sunday morning as well before the game, and he still went out and performed for us. So I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. How about you, Mark?
I'm gonna go with Mooney, just on the fact that if Aiden O'Connell doesn't end up playing, they have Desmond Ritter there, and we all know he's horrible. So I would much rather, as bad as Kirk Cousins has been, he's not Desmond Ritter. So I would definitely go Mooney.
Yeah, I don't hate it, and honestly, I didn't really consider the injury there, so that's definitely something to consider for sure. See, Chad says, yeah, I was wondering about him, but was hoping the Garindo injury would be just this week, but wanted the insurance. Okay, he's got Achan and Dowdle as his other 2 backs. So, Chad, here's something else to think about. Dr. Jesse Morris is the guy that we followed for our Friday night show whenever we did the TGIF this season, and the injury show, and that he is on X, and he was explaining the midfoot injury and what the midfoot sprain and all the different levels of severity on there on X. And what he had said at one point was, if he starts practicing this week, it's likely just going to be mild. If it's mild, then all they have to do is put a special insert in his shoe and he'll be able to play, and he should be fine and good to go. So if he starts practicing this week, it's probably just mild and he'll probably be fine. It'll just be a pain tolerance thing where he might sit out a few extra plays. If that's the case, we're starting him. If he doesn't practice this week and he's a game time decision, that means it might be a little bit more severe. If he does play, it's going to be more of an issue. So really, it's more of is he practicing or is he not? So that can help gauge your level of comfortability with him. So there's that. Just throwing that out there. And again, that's Dr. Jesse Morris, not Nurse Justin Stevens. So if it's wrong, blame him. Steve would also go Mooney, and then it says those 2 backs are doing hood, doing good. Let's see. What do we got next? Oh, the Frankenstank update. All right, so I've got my notepad here. Frankenstank update. We are in the playoffs. Now, here's how the Frankenstank playoffs work. For those of you that don't know, this is our Frankenstank Listener League. We had, let's see, 6 divisions. So that would be 72 teams in the Frankenstank this year. We had 30 teams of those 72 make the playoffs. Of those 30 teams, we all played for highest score this past week to see who was going to advance to the next round. 3 teams had a bye, and then there were 11 others that joined them to make 14 total, I believe, to go on to round 2. Yeah, that's what it was. And within that round 2, we now have 2 new teams that have a bye. One of them is my son, Peyton. He had the second highest score this past week, so he gets a bye. He is the Hounds of Bakersfield. And the other team that got a bye was Mike Wazowski, so longtime Patreon supporter. They have the bye, and they're waiting on the rest of us to play this week to catch up with them to face them. So they get a second round bye. They're automatically going to be in the Elite 8 or the Erie 8, as I like to call it. But the way we set up our schedule for the second round is what's fun, and that's what I wanted to update the people on. So the number 1 overall seed in the Frankenstank did have a first round bye, which is good for him because had he not, he would not have made the cut based on points scored this past week to make it to round 2 because he had a really bad week. But he had a bye, so he didn't have to worry about it. But since he's the number 1 seed, he gets the choice. He gets to choose who his opponent is in the second round, except for the 2 bye week teams. And of course, he chose the worst team in that is still left in the playoffs, and that's Slender Man. And that is a team that just made it in because they had the high score in week 14 before the playoffs started. No, week 13 within their division to advance. So they were the only play-in team left in the playoffs, and of course, Headless Horseman chose to play against them. So I kind of like the Cinderella story here that we could have with the play-in team with Slender Man, who could potentially go up against that number 1 seed, who's obviously struggling right now, and possibly pull that off. That would be something else. Then Jason Voorhees got to choose next as the number 2 seed, and he has chosen to go up against who was it? The DRA. Who's DRA? Oh, Darnold. Darnold all to hell. He chose to go up against Darnold all to hell. Who was one of the next lowest seed still left in, which he was the 22 seed. Then the number 3 seed Predator got to choose, and he chose to face the 16 seed Jeeper Creepers. So up to this point, the next highest seed had chosen to go up against the next lowest seed. Then after that, my man Burl throws a wrench in everything. He threw a huge wrench in my plans. He was the number 4 seed, the Bioraptors, and Beryl decided that he wanted to face me in the second round. So, and I'm the 11 seed. So
I saw by your reaction in the Discord, you were not expecting that.
I was not expecting that at all because my team's actually really good, and I've had some really high scores here lately. I was pretty surprised to see that he chose me, and I'm at full strength next week, and there are no buys. Like I've got a lot going my way, and he throws that in there. I was really hoping that he would have chosen the 19 seed, which is our man Shep's son Emmett, and had he done that, then that would have left the Venomized Thanos to choose between either myself or Australian Drop Bears, and the other would have to play the other. So I that's kind of how I was hoping it would all shake out, because any one of those 3 I'm cool with playing, but I was not so cool with playing against the Bioraptors. So I think that's going to be a kind of a Clash of the Titans type game there, because the other games have the potential of being more of a blowout. Not saying that Beryl and my teams are the 2 to beat. I'm saying that in this week they should be good close games because we're both pretty heavily matched up. And there are no 2 teams that are lower level matched up this year like we had in the past. But there are going to be a couple teams here in the middle between Australian Drop Bears and Emmett's team, Venomized Thanos. All of those teams should be pretty tight too. So we'll probably have a couple of games at least that are pretty close. But yeah, good stuff, fun stuff. And then we have our Patreon only tournament going on as well. In that we've got our man Rich beat our co-host Nate here. That's a consolation bracket for the Frankenstank. Let's see. Porg is still alive. He beat Dustin, our Patreon supporter, Dustin. Oh, well, I don't have to say Patreon supporter. This is our Patreon league. All these guys are Patreon supporters. Wyatt beat Coach Fry. Steve lost to Phil Beavis, the Captain Spaulding. Let's see. Demogorgon beat the Zombie Redneck Torture Family. Our buddy Joe beat our buddy George. My wife is still alive. She beat Genesis, David. And then the Toxic Avengers, Steven, he beat Kyle Hess, King of the Monsters. So those are the teams 2, 4, 6, 8. We got down to the final 8 in the Patreon only consolation bracket. Still got several Patreons still alive in the main bracket as well. So I love seeing all these Patreons with an opportunity to win some swag here. So all fun, all fun. And those of you that aren't in the Frank, you don't like to hear about other people's leagues. I get it. It's boring to sit here and listen to me ramble on about a league that you don't have a dog in the race for. So you know how to fix that? You get in on the Frankenstank League, and then next year, whenever we're talking about the updates, you know what I'm talking about, and you're having fun with it, and you get monster cards. You get to draft Freddy Krueger on your team before Josh Allen ever gets drafted. That's how the Frankenstank works. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of good fun. Again, reach out to us at Toilets and Titles, and I can get you. I think I'm going to start getting people signed up for next year's Frank as soon as this season's over. So that'll be good times. All right, that's enough the Frank update. I've got my stream of the week. I'm going to go out and I'm going to pick up Stone Smart, the tight end for the Chargers. So far this season, the Chargers tight ends, for the most part, up until Disley became a thing, was relatively nothing. It was 3, 4, 5 different tight ends that were all getting 1 or 2 catches a game, and it was all getting split up. Disley came in. He kind of took over, especially since what's his name, the redheaded guy got hurt. The tight end before him used to play for the Falcons. Does the potathon. You know who I'm talking about?
Who? No, I'm a little lost here.
Hayden Hurst. So once Hayden Hurst went down, once Hayden Hurst went down, then that's whenever Disley came in and became a thing, and they started funneling it down more to just the one tight end. Well, then Disley got hurt this past week, and Stone Smart stepped in. Stone Smart had a pretty good game for the rest of the game. He didn't play the whole game. He still had 3 catches for 54 yards, and it looked like he was the only tight end that they were really caring to go to for the most part for that game. So, and then now there's a good chance that Disley's going to miss some time due to his injury. So Smart could come in, at least for this week, against one of the worst secondaries in the league in Tampa Bay and get you some fantasy points. So I think that this is a sneaky good, especially deeper league, waiver wire ad for your tight end spot if you need some help there at this stage of the game. So that's where I'm going. Who's your stream of the week, Mark?
So my stream of the week, and I'm mainly talking about single quarterback leagues because he's probably not available in super flexes. But Bryce Young versus Dallas this week. If you're in need of a quarterback, what do you think? I think he's been a completely different quarterback since he's come back in this second time around. We've seen Kansas City, Tampa, and Philly all right down to the wire where they could have won any one of those games. Last week he did have an interception that wasn't that great, but other than that, I think he's been playing phenomenal.
So this is twofold. So for one, I agree with you. I do think he's playing much better football, and like he's making plays. Like he's moving the pocket. He's making plays with his feet. He's making plays with his arm. And then when he gets outside the pocket, he's running the ball. Even when I say he's making plays with his feet, I meant in the pocket. He's also making them outside the pocket. Dude is making plays. They're in position to win games against good teams. But on the flip side, on the fantasy side, even since the benching, we've still only had one game where he scored more than 20 fantasy points, and that was against Tampa Bay. So for this week, totally agree with you. He's got Dallas this week. There's a real opportunity for this week for him to be a good streamer. So I feel like he's going to be one of those guys for the rest of this season, at least until we see what his offense looks like for next year around him. Like he's got Dallas this week. He's got Arizona week 16. He's got Tampa Bay again week 17. If you're in one of those crazy leagues that has a week 18 championship, like the Frankenstein, because we're wild like that. You got Atlanta in week 18. Those are 4+ matchups for Bryce Young moving forward. So yeah, I agree with this one. I like it. Now if he had 4 tougher matchups, then maybe we're not looking at him. But no, I agree. I like it.
Let me ask you this. What do you think as an NFL quarterback? Do you think he's going to turn into one? I mean, when he got benched this past time earlier this year, everybody was talking like clear-cut bust, obviously, right? Like he was a flat-out bust. They're saying trade him away for a 4th, 5th round pick to be a backup somewhere. Do you think he's going to be a starting franchise NFL quarterback going forward?
I mean, I think probably in an Andy Dalton sort of way, and I know that sounds like lazy analysis, but I totally forgot that he was even his backup until I just said it. But I was thinking more like Andy Dalton, and with his career with Cincinnati, and then he became a journeyman. Like maybe he becomes a backup later on, but no, I think he could be a good starting quarterback. I think he can be a franchise guy, or maybe even in Eli Manning levels where he's good. He's serviceable. He's good. Maybe not great, but the problem that I see with them is what they had to give up to get him. I don't think that, and that's not on him. That's not his fault. Like that organization gave up entirely too much and made it and put him in a situation where he had to perform like Peyton freaking Manning or Tom Brady, and it just never was going to happen. So like that's on the organization for putting him in that spot. So from that level though, like yeah, kind of a bust. Like I don't think he'll ever live up to those expectations. But yeah, absolutely, I think he can be a serviceable and startable quarterback. Steve is still trying to get us to talk about this Fantasy Powers League. He says, "So should I bid over $75 in Fantasy Powers League on Barkley?"
I don't
You
think
know what?
$75 is going to get him, Steve. I think you're going to have
Hold
to
on.
spend more than that.
Here, can you see that? Oh wait, you might have to pull it up. There we go. All right, so this is the Frankenstein League. Let me get to it. Fantasy Powers. Ad drop. So far, this is what I have, Steve. Just being straight up honest and transparent with you. But I haven't started yet. Like I really haven't started yet. But I am going to put in a bid for all of them. But there you go. Jameer Gibbs, $76. Puka Nacua,
How much you have?
$76. You're
How
going
much?
to have to outbid that.
How much?
I've got like 180.
180.
Yeah, but also, again, I haven't really started, but I did pass up Saquon because I think he's going to go for too much. I don't want him for the price he's going to go.
Steve, don't let Justin fool you. Those numbers will change after we get off the air here.
They are. They're probably going to go lower. But hey, I'm transparent and I'm honest, and that's what I have. And just like I said earlier, Steve, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I have going on, and not because I'm lying, just because I don't want to lie. All right, let's see. The one and done game, the eliminator game. Nate is still in the lead after last week. Nate had Baker Mayfield scored 27. You and I both outscored him at quarterback. He got 22 at running back. I outscored him there. He got 25.9. Oh wait, sorry. I'm not saying who he started. Baker Mayfield at quarterback was 27. James Conner got him 22.2. I outscored him there. Devontae Adams got him 25.9. I outscored him there. And then Will Dissly got him 3.9. We both outscored him there. The way this game works, once you choose a player, so like in this case, Dissly, Adams, Connor, and Baker, he can't choose those players again the rest of the season. So that's kind of what we're down to, I guess, are those level of players right there. But after this week, he ended up with 998 points. This week, he's going with Lamar Jackson. Whoa, we need to double. He has not used Lamar yet, and he has a lead on us. That is sad. We're in trouble, dude. He's got Lamar Jackson going this week against the Giants. He's doubling down on that with Derrick Henry against the Giants.
Oh, come on. That's my play. Nobody else should have him this late. Damn
He
you.
still
Nate.
has. I think I might have. I know. Well, maybe not Derrick Henry. Hold on. Yeah, I had Derrick Henry still left, and I chose against it because I liked another matchup better. But I still had him left too. I could have used him as well, and I chose mine before you guys. So wouldn't that have been something if we all chose? But yeah, no, he's doubling down with the Ravens there. He's going Tyreek Hill against Houston at wide receiver. His tight end is the tight end that you and I both chose last week, Trey McBride. Trey McBride cost me $30 worth of Patreon money last week because I promised Dustin on the Sunday morning show that he would score a touchdown for him. And if he didn't, I would cover 3 months of his Patreon for him. And boom. Of course, McBride did not get that elusive touchdown. So, but luckily he still got him 14 PPR fantasy points, and Dustin still won his matchup. So I don't feel too awful bad about it. But yeah, so I'm in second, and I am just behind Nate by 26 points. So that's not too bad. That's definitely within striking distance. Last week, I chose Sam Darnold. I got 44.5 for him. I got 24 for Chase Brown. I got 32.2 for Justin Jefferson because I doubled down on those Vikings. And I got 14 for Trey McBride. So I actually had the most of all of the positions across the board with you tying me at tight end. So I definitely gained some points last week. I'm going to try to do that again this week with Brock Purdy against your Rams because I feel like he's just going to have to throw the ball a lot, especially if the running game continues to get banged up. I got Jamar Gibbs going against Buffalo. I love that matchup. I mentioned it earlier where I think that it's going to be Gibbs and Montgomery, and then Montgomery and Gibbs, and then Gibbs and Montgomery, and then occasionally they might trickle in a pass or two. And then it's going to be Gibbs and Montgomery, and then Montgomery and Gibbs. I think it's going to be a whole lot of running in this game. And so I like the fantasy numbers I should get there. Devontae Adams against Jacksonville. Again, worst team in the league in the secondary and in most positions. So Devontae Adams there, top 10 wide receiver since week 9. I love the play there. And then going with Tucker Kraft against the Seahawks as my tight end. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting slim at tight end, and I'm just going matchups and grasping at straws on that position for the rest of the season. But I like my lineup. I like it. Mark, you're at 907. What do you got?
This is a stupid game. Who came up with this?
You, and I love it.
No, I can't catch you guys. And I was going to say, I have Derrick Henry this week. He's going to score 500 points and catch me up. And now Nate has him. So that does me absolutely nothing.
And I'm going to outscore both of you with Gibbs.
Yeah. Probably. The way things are going, you're probably not wrong. So last week I had Jalen Hurts got me 28 points. Hey, that's probably one of my better weeks at quarterback this year. So I was happy with that. But then you had 44 from Darnold. And then Devon Achane, 18.9 points. That's pretty solid. Nope, both of you outscored me. And you used my own guy against me in Chase Brown. How about that?
Yes, sir. I had to use him sometime.
Then I chose Big Mike, who was Little Mike on Sunday. Only 10 points. Thanks, Mike. And And then I had Trey McBride, like you mentioned, only 14 points. Yeah. This week I'm going with Joe Burrow at quarterback. Surprised I actually still had him. Derrick Henry, running back. Cooper Kupp at receiver. And Juwan Johnson at tight end.
This was the week that I had targeted to use Cooper Kupp. I believe. Hold on. No, I used Cooper Kupp in week 2. This is the week I had targeted to use Puka Nacua, and then I ended up using Puka 2 weeks ago instead. But I was gonna use Puka this week, and then just kind of bailed out because of how the Rams' offense was starting to look, and I had started to fall behind in points, so I wanted to gain some points. I really wish I would have saved Puka. I think this is a good week to use a Rams wide receiver for sure. So I like that play. Let's see. And obviously, if you're using Juwan Johnson, then you're in the same boat that I am with their tight ends.
Yep.
Let's see. TD parlay. This is where we each choose a guy that we are guaranteeing Mark is gonna. This guy's gonna score a touchdown. I was debating between Gibbs and Henry. Ultimately, went with Henry here just because you two both chose Henry, and I went Gibbs, and I'm always wrong. So now Henry's not going to get a touchdown. Gibbs is going to score all the touchdowns, and I'm going to be looking good in that game. And I don't care about this damn TD parlay game.
So I'm going with Bijan Robinson. Are you still there? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You were like froze on the screen for a sec. But I'm going Bijan Robinson. I did not originally have him there. I had somebody else, and he is going to score a touchdown this week. But I wanted to give you guys a real one you didn't laugh at. I didn't want any bad juju, but I'm telling you right now, book it. Blake Corum is scoring a touchdown on Thursday night.
Oh yeah.
Blake Corum is scoring a touchdown on Thursday. He's
who else going to get injured?
Nobody.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's said multiple times he misses the end zone. He's had 8 carries the past 2 weeks. Last week he did get 2 carries in the red zone. It just didn't work out. He's scoring a touchdown this week. It's going to happen.
All right. I feel like that's more bold than me saying that the Trey McBride, the guy that's getting 10 or 12 catches a week and still hasn't scored a touchdown, would finally score a touchdown. So that's a bold statement there.
Bold statement. Let me tell you
again,
something else. I had a 6-leg touchdown parlay last week. 5 hit. You know who number 6 was? Bucky Irvin, who got hurt at halftime.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Nate is going with Jaden Reed, so a little bit of a homer pick there because you never really know which Packers wide receiver it's going to be, but he seems to know that it's going to be Jaden Reed this week. So
coming off a 0-point performance too.
That's how they do up there in Green Bay. They want to keep you frustrated. Guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you're hitting that bell so that you get notified when we go live. Thinking about throwing together another Frankensteak episode this Friday evening, most likely. So something to look forward to there. I got to talk to Darnold all to hell, or at least the team owner of Darnold. He said that he'd like to come on one to talk about the new monster cards that we weren't able to get to for the last special episode. So just throwing that out there as a possibility. So make sure that bell is on notifications so that you can know when we go live. And then patreon.com/toiletstitles. We have 5 different tiers there that you can sign up for to help show your love and support. And Mark, anything you need to add?
No, I think we're good. Go Rams. I am securing tickets to the Rams-Jets game, December 22nd. I will be there.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know where the seats are yet?
No. Looking at a couple options. Most likely lower level though.
Dude, so Jets home games, like they don't have a whole lot of road visitors come in to that stadium to watch games very often. Like it's usually pretty solid green and white. Like I
Yeah,
feel like it's going to be easy to point you out.
there we go.
Yeah.
We're looking at probably being on the Jets sideline so we can see across to the Rams sideline, be across. There's four of us are Rams fans. We're going to the game. But
Wow.
yeah, probably
Or
we're looking at like section 115, 117 right now, somewhere around there. But yeah.
nice. How did you happen to find 3 other people that like the Rams around you?
They're actually friends of my family that lives down in Scranton. I just found out that they were Rams fans, and yeah.
Interesting. All right. Hey, thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Y'all have a great week. We wish you the best of luck in your fantasy playoffs, and don't forget to hit us up. Have a good night.
Peace.
Cousin. With a million podcasts out there, we're grateful you chose toilets to titles. We give fantasy football advice to get your crap team to the finals. From Nate's cousin Eddie Persona and his